All right, everybody, and now one of my favorite topics to talk about is river fishing, and I've just done a lot of it, and it seems like you're either a lake fisherman or a river fisherman, you know, because they're two different animals, and I love fishing rivers because the fish there seem like they're stronger, they're easier to pattern, and they're just, survivalists, they're just tougher fish. So I fish rivers down from like the Alabama River to the Potomac River to, I've even idled into rivers in Lake Champlain way up north. So I love fishing river systems, very predictable, and a lot of rivers are extremely fertile, which leads to really good bass fishing. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the basics of a river, okay? So when you look at a normal river, and imagine we have a river, okay, and we have rocks, and we have a turn of a river, okay, and then we have another turn of the river. So as the current comes down a river, okay, we have a couple features here that I really want to talk about, okay, and one of them being the outside turn. Okay, so when water flows down a river, okay, and then it turns, what happens is this bank on the actual turn, and then again on this bank here, okay, will be your deep sections of the river. It's where you're going to find your hard cover. It's where you're going to find your laydowns, your more current, okay, because it's deeper. When you start talking about the inside turns of a river, okay, this is where you're going to find your sandbars, your mucky water, and slack current, okay? So you really want to pay attention to the angle that the current is actually hitting the bank, because that's going to position fish in certain locations, and it's patternable, okay? So let me just erase this and talk about, okay? So imagine we have a rock, okay, and imagine this is the bottom of a river, and we have a rock, and we have current flowing this way, okay? Now, what happens is this current, as it's moving along, is going to hit this rock, okay? And there's going to be two eddies that form. And most everybody realizes that the current goes up and around, and there's going to be an eddy that is evolved here on the backside, okay? But there is also an eddy that starts here on the front side. So your fish are going to position themselves on the front and back. Most people, they pull up and they think that I've always got to fish down current of the piece of structure. And believe it or not, a lot of times the most aggressive fish will be positioned on the up current side, which forms another eddy, okay? So keep that in mind as you're fishing and you see a rock, you're always casting, if you're always casting just to the rock and your bait's coming back, you're missing the majority of the really, really aggressive fish, which actually sit on the front side of the piece of cover. Another thing to mention is that when you get a rock like this, or any sort of current break, okay, there's generally always a divot in the bottom, okay, on the front and back side, because of the way that the current rolls, okay? So if that's our bottom, it always goes down and then comes up, and then goes down again and then comes back up. And this is for when heavy rains, heavy current come, it always digs out almost like a mushroom around the actual, or donut around the actual piece of structure. So very important that when you have a rock or anything like that, you remember that, you've got fish on the back side as well as the front side. Don't ever forget the front side. Another thing that if we take that same situation and we have lay down trees, so you have a bank and then you have fallen trees in the water, okay? And just imagine I'm not the best artist here. We've got our bottom and we have our fish sitting in it, okay? Now, when you cast your bait in there, everybody always thinks to cast on the back side, oh, I gotta be on the back side. What ends up happening is when you throw your bait in there and the fish are positioned here, and you've got your tree, okay, and the fish are positioned behind the tree, okay, and you cast your bait to the back of the tree, the time your bait gets to them, it's behind the fish. So you've already missed the majority of fish that are there. So what you want to do is cast on the up current side and let the current take your bait into the tree. Because you gotta remember, the fish are looking this direction into the current, and they're looking out in front of them for bait that comes to them, okay? And if you're casting on top of the fish, what's gonna happen is it's gonna go right past them every single time. So very important that you position your cast out in front of the fish. Very, very important. Now, when we break down the next thing, we're gonna look at what I call a seam, okay? So imagine we have this river and it's flowing, okay? And we have all of this current and we have a rock. So we have all this current coming down and now it's pushing, and you may see a ripple, okay? And we've got an eddy here, and this eddy may extend down, okay, as the current bounces off the rock, okay? And then we have this water boiling around here, okay? And then we have fast water and we have slow water. The piece that's in between that is called the seam. Now, sometimes, okay, the fish may be located way down here on the seam. They may not actually be up on the rock themselves, especially if, you know, you're fishing, say a wing dam, right? So you have a river and you have a wing dam coming out into the river, okay? And our current's coming down and we've got this big push of current coming through here. We have an eddy that's coming behind it, okay? These fish, and the seam's gonna set up something like this. And you're gonna see the water, it's churning on this side, okay? And those fish may be oriented right here, but a lot of times what they'll do, a lot of the schools of fish will be located right along that seam because they're sitting there as the current's coming by them. Even though we're further away than you would ever think the fish should be located to the actual physical structure, the fish are more interested in a prime feeding spot. So, you know, don't be afraid to really look at the seam areas away from the structure. Treat the seam as a piece of structure and not necessarily the physical, you know, hard structure of what you're looking at, okay? Very, very important when you look at rivers is to watch the natural current of it, okay? I love fishing river, guys, you know, and what you'll notice also in river systems like the Mississippi and things like that, you'll have a main river section, okay, and then you'll have backwater areas, okay, that drain into it, okay, and this may be land here, okay, and this is your backwaters, okay. You've got your main river current coming down, okay, you have your backwater areas. So during seasonal changes, particularly spring and particularly fall, okay, these areas here, and even in the summertime can be really affected because you've got all of these fish that are either moving out or moving in, okay. Backwater areas are really good in the springtime because the fish need to get out of current, okay. River systems are very predictable in the springtime because the fish will not be in the main current. They will all go back into the backwater sections to spawn, okay? Then again, okay, late fall and into winter, the fish will go back into the backwater sections typically again to get out of the current. The farther north you are, the more they do this, okay? Because the water temperatures get even colder, okay? Particularly in tidewater, okay? So when we're dealing with tidewater rivers, that'll be our next day's video, and we're going to break down, okay, what happens to fish during certain times. You know, in a river system, you know, when you get a lot of rain and the water comes up, okay, just like a lake, they go to the bank, okay, they're going to be out of the main current. Any sort of current break, they're going to hold in, and seams become even more important during those times. So, best baits for rivers, and like always, the next page of this will have all of the baits that I mentioned here. Okay, probably one of the most popular is a 1.5 square bill. Okay, it can be straight king square bill, is a very popular one. Storm Arashi is another one. You can have a jig, okay, flipping a jig or a Texas rig worm, okay, extremely productive on rivers, okay. If you're fishing smaller rivers, okay, 3 to 4 inch grub, just on a jig head. Cast it out, reel it in, okay? Topwaters are extremely productive in rivers, okay? There's a river right by our house where in the summertime you can take a buzzbait, okay? A little 1/8 ounce black buzzbait and catch smallmouth on nonstop. So topwater baits, crankbaits, grubs are extremely productive for a river. And I've got a full list of all the baits that I suggest if you're tackling rivers. Tube baits, another one, little creature baits, things like that. So if you need any more suggestions, feel free to go on the next page, and they've got all of the selections of what I use personally when I go after a river. So thanks for watching about rivers, and I'll see you in the next video.